Hello everybody. In this video, I'm going to be sharing a DMT trip report in which me and my brother thought we were stuck tripping forever. Now this story is really two trips combined because we had two trips in one sitting really. I could tell them separately as separate trip reports, but I feel like it'd make a good story if I put them both together in one trip report. So this took place, I'd say, anywhere from a year to 2 years ago, back when me and my brother were using psychedelics quite extensively. And like I said, this was with DMT, the pure crystal DMT. And I was up at my brother's house, and we both planned to smoke it. Now, I don't know what led up to it, but he wanted me to hit the pipe first. I remember I was sitting on the edge of his bed, and he was sitting in like a chair, a recliner chair that he sits in. And usually we'll just hit the pipe and pass a lighter back and forth, but this time we both had like our own lighters, so all we had to do was just pass the pipe. And I remember I had put quite a bit into the pipe this time, just so like I could ensure that there was enough in there for both me and my brother to have a nice experience. So I start taking the first hit, and I remember it was like immediate. It was immediate. Right when I put the light to the pipe, it started getting harsh in the back of my throat. My eyes started to water, and I was getting a really big hit right off the bat. And I remember, within seconds of me hitting that pipe, my entire visual field started, collapsing. Everything started to look like it was, shifting in its position and was taking on this, geometric curvature type thing. And everything was, splicing and, I don't know, it just everything was looking mangled and destroyed. And I thought to myself, okay, that was one hit. That is definitely all I need. And I do what I think is pass the pipe to my brother, but it turns out I actually, passed him the lighter, thinking it was the pipe. Yo, here, you can take it now. But I was handing him the lighter and hanging on to the pipe. And that was just an example of how, mentally far gone I already was. And I remember I had taken that hit and my vision was falling apart immediately. I accidentally hand him the lighter and he's like, no, give me the pipe. I was like, oh shit, sorry. Hand him the pipe. And I throw myself into the corner of his bed. Just turn over, cover my eyes, and roll over into the corner of the bed. And I remember, right when I closed my eyes, the way I remember the image that's burnt into my head of what I saw, it was like there were these massive planet-sized barrels that was one here, and they were spinning like this. They were spinning, and I felt like I was the size of a planet. Like I said, everything seemed like planetary size, massive. And there were these two barrels spinning, kind of like they were like something, like a conveyor that pulls things through. And I felt like I was squeezing in between these two massive spinning barrels. And when I went through the barrels, I remember I saw a woman, and she was physically attractive. She was very physically attractive, and I remember she had, not to be weird, but she had thick thighs, and my attention fixated on her legs, and all of a sudden, from in between her thighs, everywhere behind her thighs, from in between that space, rainbow liquid came shooting out from in between her legs, and it was it blew up through my vision, and it blew out through the in between her legs, and completely filled my vision with geometric color and design. And I don't know what happened. I don't know whether I kept watching or if I immediately did what I'm about to say. But the next thing I remember is I sat up and looked through the room. I sat up and turned back around and looked through the room. Because I felt like I just was tripping so hard, so quickly, that it completely felt, just surreal. Like everything was crazy. And I remember I looked through the room and everything was literally disintegrating. Everything was falling apart into vibrations. And it was what you'd call tracers. It looked like everything was falling down and reverberating in this insane shuddering, repeating image of itself type way, and everything was completely vibrating, waves of vibration, just making all the objects in the room fall apart and dematerialize. And I remember I looked at my brother, and he had, I will never forget this, he had multiple heads. He had multiple heads, multiple beady eyes that were looking around. He had multiple arms, 8 arms, 4 heads, multiple eyes, and he was doing multiple things at once. He was sitting there, but he was also looking around and moving around and doing all these things. And I'm looking at him my brother does not have 8 heads and 8 arms. It was I don't know, it was crazy looking. It was insane looking. It looked real. And he looked like this vibration creature thing that was made out of repetitions of things he's done or something. Very insane looking. And I remember my brother saying, just watch it, don't say anything, just keep watching. Because he had smoked it too, and he was having an extraordinary experience as well. I remember him saying, amidst my experience, he goes, dude, I am having acid visuals times 1,000,000 right now. And we both get a kick out of that, remembering that statement, because, if you've taken LSD and you do something like DMT, and you see how easily that sense of hallucination can just go on overdrive, it's mind-blowing. It really is mind-blowing. So that was roughly the end of that first experience we had. I don't really remember too much more of the contents of the trip or what we were doing amidst it. But I remember we were coming down, and I'm sitting back on the bed, and he's still sitting in his chair, and we're kind of talking about it, holy fuck, that was a intense experience, dude. And it seemed pretty quick. It seemed to be only 5 minutes. And something in us, I don't know if it was my brother that prompted me to do it again, or if I wanted to do it again, but we wanted to do it again. Because we knew we didn't finish what was in the pipe. I had put so much in it that we both got a nice dose in, and there was still tons left in the pipe that was to be smoked. So we decided we wanted to do it again, right after coming out of that experience that I just described. We're let's do it again. So my brother takes the first hit this time. He takes his hit, and then he passes it to me. And I remember he says, careful. And, looking back on it, what he was saying was, there's still tons in that pipe. Careful not to get too much type thing, because you could go just as deep as you just were again. Just as easy, because that's how much was still in the pipe. So he says, careful, to me as he hands me the pipe. So I start to hit the pipe, and I take one nice, really big hit, and I hold it, and I'm starting to feel that world coming back. I'm starting to feel that physical feeling of like, just like a sort of like inner weakness, slight like tingly vibration thing, and I was feeling my way into that body load, and closing my eyes and waiting to just trance out into the experience again. And my attention is caught by something that my brother says. My brother says, "Dude, did we do that perma-trip thing?" I remember it clear as day. He said it to me very like he's asking me. He was asking me. He says, "Did we just do that perma-trip thing?" And the minute he said that, when he said that, it was like my mind completely shifted. And what this is that I'm experiencing right now is not me on DMT, but this is reality. This is reality as it is. And I remember when I looked at that reality, I was having hallucinations. My thoughts were all scrambled. My body felt completely different. And I remember thinking, is this reality now? Like, I remember being convinced by what he said. He was asking me, did we just do that thing where you get stuck tripping? And I became convinced to an extent that, like, shit, we might have just fucked our heads up. It was as simple as that. It was like he just says that to me and he's got me on the same train as him. And I remember I get like filled with fear because I'm having images of like, I remember looking at the corner of the TV screen and the TV's like moving and melting and transforming in front of my eyes. And I'm thinking, this is reality now? And I remembered like imagining, well, my brother said this. He imagined, like, how am I going to talk to my family and stuff? How am I going to communicate with people like this? And I remember thinking of, like, one of our friends that's into tripping being, like, he's older than us and trips more than us and stuff. And I imagined him being like, yeah, man, that's what can happen sometimes. Some people just, they do it a little too much and then they never come back. That's just what can happen. And it was like everything was like locking in on me like, dude, this isn't a trip. I fucked my reality up. I fucked my head up and this is reality now. And I remember I laid my head down on the table, like trying to just be okay. And I say, bro, we just took more. Like trying to bring him down to reality, as well as myself, bring myself down to reality. I say, bro, we just took more. And I proceeded to lay down on the floor because I was completely like scared and like, this ain't too good type thing. I fucked my head up. This is never gonna go away. I better, surrender to what I've done. So I laid down on the floor, like, well, better accept my reality. I really did it this time. And my brother, I remember as I'm laying down, he goes, yeah, I think I'm going to lay down too. And he gets up and lays down on the bed where I was just sitting. And it was like right as we laid down, we were both looking back up at each other like, wasn't that a crazy trip? Like we're coming down and we're looking at each other like, dude, that was a weird trip. It was like right when we laid down, we came back to reality like, holy fuck, dude, now that was a weird psychological trip, It completely was different than what we just experienced, What we had just previously experienced was the classic, DMT rush, the onset of fucking really intense hallucinations and feeling like you're being transitioned out of or into something, you know what I mean? But this experience that we had, like afterwards, feeling like I wasn't tripping, this is just reality, but I was having like hallucinations and my body felt completely weird. Like, it seemed so much different of a sequence of events than how DMT usually acts, which made it easier to believe and be convinced that we aren't just having a normal DMT trip right now. We fucked our heads up and we're stuck tripping. You know what I mean? So it was a really interesting trip that we both get a chuckle out of when we look back on it. And I can share with you what it was that made my brother say that. Because remember, he was the one that said, dude, did we just do the perma-trip thing? He was the first one to think something was fucked up. And he said what happened was he hit the DMT the second time. And instead of it coming on like it normally does, he said it all of a sudden felt as if everything, like the sense of feeling, was backwards. Like as if when he wasn't touching something, he was being touched. But when he would touch something, it felt like normal. It felt normal. And he said it felt completely reversed, the sensation of feeling. And he said it kind of freaked him out and made him think he was fucked up. He had fucked himself up. And he said he imagined in his head like him seizing up on the floor, and that's what's actually happening. And right now he's in the afterlife, and this is what being in the afterlife is like. Very, very weird shit. That was an interesting experience that I'll never forget. Both of us will never forget. We shared it together. But yeah, that's really it for this one. I got to see my brother with 8 arms and 4 heads and 8 eyes, and the room falling apart into fractal vibrations, and got to get stuck in a DMT trip with my brother, thinking that this is reality now, in which we both thought we had done something detrimental to our minds. So yeah, that's it for this one. With that said, thank you all for watching, and I will be back with more.